Alright guys, I'm changing up a little bit of my settings with my audio. I'm now doing stereo recordings for reviews, something I've been doing for my streams. It sounds a little clearer to me, but if it sounds different to you guys, let me know. Today we're going to talk about calming games. Back when I played on the PSP and PS Vita, there was a nice little game called Flow, moving around an organism, slowly evolving it, and it was just a very calm and soothing game. Now that I think about it, there actually is a game on the Japanese eShop that is just like it. I don't know what the proper name is, but maybe it'll eventually come west and we'll know. Anyways, the game we're going to talk about today is something that just came out and is just like Flow. It's a very calming and soothing game. It's also a sequel to a little game called Aery, Little Bird Adventure. Here is my review of Aery Broken Memories for the Nintendo Switch. The story of Broken Memories has you in the mind of a comatose human, exploring landscapes that represent their mind and memories, trying to piece things together and help them. The way this is shown does make it a pretty interesting and cute little story. It also maintains that casual feel, as almost all of the voice tracks that you get as you explore around are the character just talking about something they enjoy, like how cute dogs are or them playing chess as a hobby when they were a kid. There is an overarching plot point that has to do with the whole coma thing, but it's given you in little tidbits in each stage rather than taking the forefront as you explore these landscapes. Though speaking of the coma, the story is a bit confusing in that regard. When I started the game, I knew I was in the mind of a comatose person, but that's because I read the game's description. When you start the game, you go right into learning about their hobbies and interests and don't really know about the whole coma thing for quite some time. When it comes to gameplay, Broken Memories is a 3D exploration flight game. Across its 15 stages, you're going to be in a smallish arena or sandbox type area flying around as a bird. Your goal is to explore and collect feathers that are displayed in the form of shiny objects that are just kind of floating around. Part of the HUD at the bottom right corner of the screen tells you how many you need to collect in the stage, and each time you collect one, you get a little vocal track to tell you a bit more about the story, or rather what this person likes that the stage is based around. The really nice part about this system is the vocal tracks are not tied to specific feathers around the map. When you collect your first feather, you get your first voice track, whether it's the one right in front of where you start or the hidden ones in the middle of the stage. And in regards to the stages themselves, they are all varied and very pretty, from the colorful samurai stage to the thick snow-filled dog stage. Though some of these designs can make it a little bit difficult. The dog stage, for example, has a lot of white glare on the screen and everything's covered in snow, the same color as all of these feathers. I spent a really long time in that stage because all of those feathers easily blended into all of that glare and I completely passed them up. And speaking of time, let's talk about content and length, which isn't very much. Each of the individual stages can be completed in just a few minutes and there's only 15 total. If you don't get lost in a lot of the stages, you'll probably beat the entire game in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And 1 to 2 hours is not long at all for a $15 game. Now let's dive into controls for a moment. The control scheme for the game is very simplistic. You can move around with either of the analog sticks or the D-pad, and you can spin around and do barrel rolls with the L and R triggers. But things can get a little tricky when you go into the menu. You cannot navigate the menu with the touchscreen or the D-pad, and there's a good bit of lag when you're using the analog sticks to move around. Next, presentation. As far as the visuals go, I think it looks alright. It's definitely not as smooth as a lot of other Switch games, but the environments still have their pretty charm, especially when you get to the more colorful ones. Unfortunately, that's the only good thing I've got to say about the game's presentation. When we get to audio, it glitches fairly often. There were several times this week I booted up the game to play it and sound effects had somehow been completely disabled. The sliders and settings looked fine, but I couldn't get anything out of it. And speaking of those sliders, the audio settings are really unbalanced. I can move the sliders around and just the 3 or 4 notches down from max volume on the music, and it will be completely muted. Even if I take it into handheld mode and crank up the volume as high as it'll go, I will hear absolutely nothing. And to finish this section off, let's talk about the performance. Frame rate stutters a lot in this game. You're pretty much going to constantly be seeing frame drops regardless of what stage you're in. Now, some stages are better than others, but basically all of them will have frame drops in some capacity. And if you're playing in handheld mode, it is significantly worse. I don't have anything else to say in regards to performance now, so let's go into battery life. On the original model, Aery Broken Memories has a battery range of 2 hours and 58 minutes up to 3 hours and 49 minutes. On the Nintendo Switch Lite, it has a range of 3 hours and 15 minutes up to 4 hours and 22 minutes. And on the V2 or Redbox 2019 model, it has a range of 4 hours and 43 minutes up to 5 hours and 24 minutes. In conclusion, Aery Broken Memories is a vibrant and laid-back game for those just wanting to relax and, well, unwind. Now on the downside, the short length and confusing story intro brings it down, along with the optimization issues with frame rate, menu controls, and audio. It's a nice little game, but should probably be played on other platforms until this one gets patched. Reviews to Go rates Aery Broken Memories for the Nintendo Switch a 5.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.